So here's my second shelf of movies, and this is where I put all of my comic book movies. I had to make a whole nother shelf because I have so many, and because there are so many. And I'm going to be displaying these in alphabetical order, not in order of franchise or anything. Because, you know, then I'd have to do the MCU and the DCEU and the DCAU and the X-Men franchise. And, yeah, these are just in alphabetical order. First up is AntMan. Underrated movie, but not great. Very good performance from Paul Rudd. Very good performance from Michael Douglas. Next up is Avengers 1 and 2. I haven't gotten Infinity War yet. I will when the Blu-ray comes out. Have the Blu-ray edition for both of these. Yeah. There we go. Next up is Batman. Next up is Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. I can put that one right here. I leave some spaces just in case there's more movies that I want to put right there. If I ever get Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, can put them right there. I've only watched this one, and it was alright. A lot of people say it's like the best Batman movie before The Dark Knight, and I don't know about that. It was fine. I haven't watched Batman Returns yet. Next up I have Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. That's a great trilogy right there. One of the best trilogies of our generation, or my generation. Christian Bale gives a great performance. Michael Caine gives a great performance, and obviously Heath Ledger gives a great performance in The Dark Knight. Next up is Justice League Triple Feature. This has Batman Under the Red Hood, Batman Gotham Knight, and Batman Year One. I haven't watched any of these yet because I want to read the comics they're based on first. However, this one right here is set in the same universe as the Nolan movies. So I might watch that one and make a review sometime soon. Next up is Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. The theatrical cut is okay, and I think the Ultimate Edition's better, but neither one of the movies, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. I know there are people that love this movie, that think it's one of the best comic book movies ever, and I just can't bring myself to think that. I think it's good, it's enjoyable, but I think there are some very big flaws. Next up is the Blade Trilogy. I don't know why there's a gap right there. I should put these back. Gosh, now that I think about it, I have not watched any of these three movies all the way through. Why have I not? You know, Blade really kicked off the era of comic book movies. It came out in 1998, and it really kicked off this wave of comic book movies that we've had so far. And I've heard 2 and 3 aren't as good, but are still decent. So, let me back this up a little and aim ourselves down. Next up is Captain America: The First Avenger, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and Captain America: Civil War. That, personally, is my favorite MCU trilogy. Avengers is a close second, though. Let's see, I have these two on DVD and this one on Blu-ray. That's one of the rare trilogies where each movie gets better, and, that's just, yeah, Captain America's story arc throughout the three of them is really well done. The Russo brothers are some of my favorite directors in Hollywood. Next up is Daredevil. I think that movie's underrated. It's nothing special, but, you know, it's decent. Yeah, Ben Affleck isn't that great in it, but, you know, Michael Clark Duncan's great. Colin Farrell is hilariously enjoyable to watch. Jennifer Garner's fine. And I think it's obviously the TV show Daredevil's better, but it's a good look into, like, I think it's the best Daredevil movie we could have gotten for that time period. Next up is Fantastic Four, Brooklyn Public Library. I do not live anywhere near New York, so yeah, I don't know where that came from. And Fantastic Four, The Rise of Silver Surfer. Yeah, you know, 2 more movies that everyone kind of hates that I'm okay with. I mean, they're not terrible, but yeah, I like all the casting except maybe Jessica Alba, and I think that's the best version of those movies we could have gotten at that time period. Alright, so I just remembered I have a tripod that is smaller and can actually, like, be on par with these lower shelves. So I just switched the camera to that one real quick. And yeah, we can continue. Next up is Ghost Rider. This movie's okay. A lot of people hate it. You know, it's kind of dumb. Nicolas Cage is just, he's super Nicolas Cage in this movie. It's hilarious to watch. But it's alright. Next up is Green Lantern. Now, this is a really underrated movie. Yeah, obviously, let me adjust it. CGI could have been a lot better. But Ryan Reynolds is really good in it. All the actors are really entertaining to watch. And his story arc in the movie, I think, is really good. Like I said, the only thing I really dislike is I think the CGI leaves something to be desired. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy on DVD and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 on Blu-ray. I like the first one more. Second one's still enjoyable, though. A lot of people love it. I think it's okay. Next up is Hellboy. And let me adjust that. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. Haven't watched those yet. There's way too many movies I have that I haven't watched yet. It's because if I watch them, I want to make a review, and that takes time. You know, I've heard that Ron Perlman's really good in them, and I think he would be, but I'm still looking forward to the reboot with David Harbour. Next up is The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. Kind of the black sheep of the MCU. It's a different movie, different vibe that the rest of the franchise has. But it's still enjoyable. We get some very good performances from Tim Roth and William Hurt. Edward Norton's okay, Liv Tyler's okay, and a really good some really good directing from Louis Leterrier. Next up is two TV movies, The Incredible Hulk Returns and The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I've only watched The Incredible Hulk Returns. You know, this one has Thor in it, and this one has Daredevil in it. I watched the first two seasons of the Bill Bixby Show, and it's alright. You know, it's good for its time period, the late 70s, early 80s. And then next up is the Death of the Incredible Hulk, which is like a finale to that series. Yeah, those are pretty good. I'll watch them sometime and might do a ranking video of all the Hulk movies, of those three, and Edward Norton's movie and Eric Bana's movie. But next up is the Iron Man trilogy. This honestly probably is the weakest trilogy in the MCU. I know a lot of people think that Thor is, but this is my least favorite. No, don't get me wrong, the first one is really good. The first one's great. Robert Downey Jr. is so good in it, but then the next two are just... They're just not entertaining. Those are my two least favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Yeah, next up is Justice League on Blu-ray. I know a lot of people hate this movie. A lot of people love it. I think it's okay. I've only watched it once. I'll have to rewatch it if I want to re-review it. But it's, you know, it's fine. All the casting's good. The CGI leaves something to be desired. I really want to see a Snyder cut, obviously. We all do. Next up is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Now, the comic book was weird. It was a little too Alan Moore-y. Like, there was so many references that the story just wasn't that good. The movie, though, the movie's just not good. The color scheme is bad. It diverges from the source material. The only thing good is that the performances are fine. They're not great. They're just somewhat watchable. Next up is Man of Steel. Now, I know a lot of people love this movie. I think it's alright. I've said that a lot during this video. You know, Henry Cavill gives a good performance. Amy Adams gives a good performance. Michael Shannon is okay. I think Zack Snyder was just trying to be a little too epic and a little too grand, and not, you know, to the point where he didn't quite develop character enough. Alrighty, because this tripod's weird, I'm now looking up. Now we have Punisher Warzone. That's a okay movie. I can't quite tell if I like this one or the Thomas Jane one more. Ray Stevenson, he's playing the Punisher as the Terminator. Like, he just walks in there and just massacres people. While Thomas Jane and John Bernthal are a lot more sympathetic. Also, the tone's a little off because there's a subplot in the movie that I actually really like where the Punisher accidentally kills an undercover cop and his wife and daughter are grieving. And I think that that's, you know, that's a great subplot. That's a really good way to develop Frank Castle as a character. But, you know, we'll go from, like, campy blasting everyone, you know, blood flying all over the place, to Julie Benz giving a performance as the undercover cop's widow that's, like, genuinely really sad. So yeah, but next up is Spider-Man 3. Now, I have the first two Spider-Man movies, but they're downstairs. They're on my parents' DVD shelf, and I do not feel like walking all the way down there. This one's, it definitely is the weakest of the trilogy, but it's not a terrible movie. Yeah, I might do a ranking video of the Spider-Man movies. Next up is The Amazing Spider-Man. I don't have the second one. This one's fine. Get a very good performance from Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. The villain's kind of weak, and there's some plot lines that should be fleshed out more. But it's, you know, it's decent. Then we have Spider-Man Homecoming. Now this movie I really like. Have it on DVD, not on Blu-ray. It does a good job being a Spider-Man origin story without retelling the previous two incarnations. Tom Holland's really good. I like Michael Keaton in the movie also. So yeah, then next up is Superman Doomsday. Now this is the first animated movie that DC ever released. And I haven't watched it yet, but I read the comic book, The Death of Superman, and I'll watch that and review that sometime soon. That's on my watch. You know, I have a lot of things on my watch list, but this is in my watch fairly soon list. Next up, Ninja Turtles Original Trilogy. These definitely, I have to rewatch these because, like, literally my favorite one used to be 3, and followed by 2, followed by 1. But now I kind of think the first one's my favorite, followed by this one, followed by this one. And then I have TMNT too, which used to be my favorite of the 4 because it's the darkest. Yeah, I'll have to rewatch those and rank those, definitely, along with the Michael Bay ones. Cause this franchise is interesting because you can play it either dark and gritty, or you can play it light and silly. And these two are more dark and gritty, and these two are more light and silly. So it really depends. You know, people's ranking can really change based on which one they like. Next up is the Thor Trilogy. I have the first one on Blu-ray, second one on DVD, third one on Blu-ray. This is probably the least consistent trilogy in the MCU movies. Each one of them has a different director. My personal favorite is Kenneth Branagh. Alan Taylor really doesn't bring any directorial style to Thor: The Dark World. And then there's Thor Ragnarok, which Taika Waititi decided to make it just a comedy. It's silly. There's a very vibrant color scheme. I mean, you can just tell by looking at the 3 of these, you know, these two kind of look similar. This one just looks nothing like the other two. The boxes do. Next up is V for Vendetta. I read the comic by Alan Moore, and, you know, this really is not a very loyal adaptation. There are good things in it, though. The things that it does get right from the book translate very well, like the scene with Evie in the rain. Hugo Weaving as V is a really good casting. I really like that. Next up is Watchmen, another Alan Moore adaptation. Now, I know a lot of people like this movie, and I think it's pretty good. It's a good adaptation. I would love to see. There is a director's cut out there that I don't have, but I want to get because I want to watch it because people say it's better. And I think that Zack Snyder made some changes to the story that actually work. Some of them do. The only thing that is bad about the movie is people just didn't quite get it because the superhero genre was not established enough when this came out. It came out in 2009, which is before cinematic universes and before any of that. And so I think if someone remade it now, which I think HBO is making a miniseries out of it, it would be a lot more successful because we have a superhero genre. Then next up is Wonder Woman on Blu-ray. This is definitely, without question, the best DCEU movie, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinions. Gal Gadot gives a good performance, so does Chris Pine. Villains are fine, they're kind of throwaway, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's also not just feminist social justice warrior BS, so that's really good. So now, moving on, I have X-Men, pretty much the entire franchise. I don't have X-Men Apocalypse, I don't think. Yeah, I don't have X-Men Apocalypse. Let's see, I have the original trilogy, have the Wolverine trilogy. Oh, my phone's ringing. Where was I? My landline was ringing. Yes, I still have a landline, don't judge. I don't have X-Men Apocalypse because that movie's not very good, and and I don't have Deadpool 2 because it's not out yet. This is a really good franchise, has its ups and downs, and I think that, you know, Fox was making a huge mistake just trying to continue it with Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. I feel like Logan and Deadpool 2 just should have been the last ones, you know, before they rebooted it into the MCU. You know, the original trilogy, I have all 3 of those on DVD. They're good. They're solid. Even X-Men: The Last Stand is not bad. Then there's the Wolverine trilogy, X-Men Origins, The Wolverine, and Logan. Oh, oops. And each one of those is good in its own right. That trilogy also gets better and better. Then what else is there? There's the First Class trilogy, which is First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. I don't have Apocalypse yet. And I have the road cut of X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm gonna have to
what I was thinking about is doing a series called Thoughts On or something like that, where I talk about alternate cuts of a movies, and so I'm going to talk about the alternate cut of that. The alternate cut's pretty cool. I think it's decent. Then there's Deadpool. Movie's pretty good. I haven't done a full review of it yet, but it captures Deadpool really well, and it's a very genre-flipping movie. The only problem is it doesn't hold up. I think that, in a couple years it'll be just another comic book movie. And the second one is better, which is very rare that the second movie's better. So yeah, that's it for my comic book movies. So here we have some random movies I just kind of had lying around. First up is Tremors the series. That's a decent TV show. A lot of people hate it, but it's funny. It's decent. Michael Gross is good. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 4 never-before-seen bonus episodes. Volume 1. I haven't gotten Volume 2 yet. I should, though. The cartoon, this is the 1987 cartoon. It's decent. It doesn't hold up great, but it's such a big part of my childhood, I have to get it. Next up is Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 3 on Blu-ray. Now, this is such a great show. I know a lot of adults didn't like it. They're just like, George Lucas is trying to, make his prequels more relevant and just trying to make more money off Star Wars, and it's animated, so, it doesn't count. But it's a great show, The first 2 seasons are good, but then seasons 4 through 6 are like Game of Thrones in space. They just kill off characters left and right. And it has some very emotional moments, too. And this version of Anakin is the best version of Anakin. Much better than Jake Lloyd, much better than Hayden Christensen. This is the definitive Anakin, and they're bringing it back for Season 7, and I'm really excited, and I want to do a video on it, but I just got my computer a couple days ago, and the hype had already kind of gone away. So, next up, now this movie, there's a funny story behind this movie. It's a sci-fi original movie about giant mosquitoes that drink alien blood, become gigantic, and start to kill people. Now, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's so bad that it is hilariously good. And I did not know this, but this movie actually has a huge cult following. And there are DVDs and Blu-rays. There are DVDs and VHS tapes of this movie on Amazon for several $100s. There was one, a brand new DVD that was going for over $1,000. That is crazy. I don't know if it's been bought or not, or if it's still up there. But, my dad used to watch this movie with his brothers and laugh at it, so he was like, you know what, I'm going to show this movie to my son. So he bought the VHS for us, and we watched it. We laughed. Yada, yada, yada. Next up is Dumb and Dumber. Like I said, I'm going to get hate. I haven't watched this movie yet. I will eventually. I'm sure Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are great in it, and I heard that the sequel is actually pretty good, but not the prequel. So, yeah, that's it for now. Moving on. Alright, so for my last little bit of collection, I'm going to show my horror/thriller movies. So yeah, let's get started. First up is Donnie Darko. Really good movie. Jake Gyllenhaal gives a good performance. The director does a really good job directing it. It's probably one of my favorite thriller movies. Next up is Dreamcatcher, Stephen King movie. It's alright. It's enjoyable, but it's Stephen King wrote the book when he was at the height of his cocaine addiction. So, yeah, that's very, very obvious. Next up is Final Destination, VHS. This movie's okay. I just feel like they couldn't decide whether they wanted to be generic slasher movie or deep philosophical movie about death and life and mortality and all that stuff, and they couldn't pick which one they wanted to be. And if they would have, made that decision, it would have been a lot cooler. Friday the 13th 8-movie collection DVD. All Friday the 13th movies 1 through Jason Takes Manhattan. I've only watched the first 4 or 5, but I might rewatch them all and rank them soon. Classic horror movie franchise. Next up, Halloween, just about all the movies except Halloween 6, which would go right there. I've only watched this one, and I've only watched these 4, but I should watch them all and then watch the new one and make a ranking video when the new one comes out. I actually really like the first remake, but the second one, no. Next up is Red Dragon. I haven't watched this yet because I want to, I know it takes place before Silence of the Lambs, but I want to watch that one in sequence with Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. Yeah, next up is Scream 1, 2, and 3, original trilogy. Don't have the fourth one, but it's okay. The fourth one's my least favorite. Great horror movie franchise, you know, very meta, very self-aware, which I like. Sixth Sense, probably my favorite horror movie ever. M. Night Shyamalan's best movie, and good performance from Bruce Willis. Tremors 1 through 4, that's what's in the attack pack, and then Tremors 5. Don't have Tremors 6 yet with Michael Gross in Canada. But, you know, that's a fun horror comedy franchise. I'll probably do a ranking video of those too. So, yeah, I think that's it for my movies. My parents have some more movies, but, I'm not going to walk down there and show off my parents' DVD collection. I think that's about it. So, yeah, be sure to subscribe. Bye.